Hey, what's up, y'all? Thanks for stopping by and visiting my channel. In this video, I'll cover a few basic fundamentals about publicity, the purpose it serves, and how to get publicity for your business or brand. This particular presentation is from a webinar that I hosted called Intro to Publicity 101, and a lot of people found it to be extremely helpful, and I thought it'd be a good idea to share it here. So within this video, we're going to cover a couple of different sections in regards to publicity, which is a component of marketing and the public relations process. And so within this, we'll talk about what publicity is. We're also going to talk about why publicity is important for a business, a product, or service. In section 3, we'll cover how to use publicity to leverage or to actually build your brand. And then as we close with section 4, I'll be explaining a bit about the process and how you can learn the publicity process. So there's a lot of good tips in here. You may want to grab a pen and pad, and if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Like the video if you enjoy it. Any feedback or comments, feel free to drop the comments. I welcome any feedback, and let me know if this is an area that you need help in. I'm actually going to be posting PR and marketing hacks and tips on the channel weekly, so you guys be sure to hit the notifications, tune in, and if there's anything in particular that you want me to cover in regards to PR marketing or digital marketing, drop that and I'll work on that as well. So all right, here we go. Hope this video helps. Section 1, we are going to talk about what is publicity. What is it? By definition, publicity is the movement of information to the general public from the media. A lot of people get publicity confused with public relations. And while both of those are components of marketing, publicity is the result of public relations. So you have a public relations team that is going to go out and advocate for your business or your service or your product. They're going to pitch it to different media outlets, and that could be in the form of, nowadays you have social media influencers, which account for a lot of the different trends and things like that are becoming popular. But as in regards to traditional media, you have print publications, you have newspapers, you have community dailies, you have online blogs, websites, online magazines, and then social media, of course. And all of those are components of the actual, what do you call it? I guess they're components of the media. So that would be the media. Those are the people that you are trying to get your news and your information about your service and your product to, because those are the ones that are going to share it with the mass media. They're going to share it, with their mass audience. So those people have access to the audiences. You want to get your product to them because they have the ability to transfer that information out and to get you the exposure you need to kind of promote and get your services out there and let people know more about them. So that is, in a nutshell, what publicity is. Like I said, by definition, it is the movement of information to the general public from the media, and the media, the source, which would actually be the publication, the blog. They're going to take it and they're going to disseminate that information out to their audiences. And in return, you get the notoriety or the exposure. And so that is the actual result of public relations. That's why you have like different public relations departments. They handle the publicity for XYZ company. So you have a dedicated person or a team that typically takes care of that. So publicity is not to be confused with, promotion. It's a form of promotion, but publicity by itself is its own thing. So just to kind of understand that, once you understand that, then it's easier to really digest this next section that we're going to get into in regards to how it's helpful, why I need it, and basically what it is, like what do I need to use it for. All right, so let's move on to section 2. And this one is really one of my favorite ones to kind of discuss, because I've worked within the PR industry over 10 years now, and it never gets old, put it like that. There's always something new when it comes to promoting products and services. So with that being said, let's go ahead to this next slide, which is why is it important for my brand or product? Why is publicity important? Why should I care? Why should I invest in it? Why should I even want to do it in-house? So first of all, just based off of what we just discussed, publicity can help you get the exposure and garner attention for your product, service, event, whatever it is that you're promoting. So obviously that is of importance, because if nobody knows about it or hears about it, then they can't come in and support or buy your product or services or sign up for your webinar or anything else that you're offering. So first, it helps to build your brand presence by providing information about your product, brand, company, service, yada, 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 etc. Second, it opens up the channel of communication from brand to consumer. So on one angle, you have the publicity, which will help you to promote and get the word out about your service. And then on the second hand, you have an opportunity to really get the information that you want people to know about your brand directly to the consumer. So say, for instance, if you, I don't know, maybe you guys are involved in some sort of green commitment in your company or a nonprofit initiative. Okay, you do have a service that you're offering. Maybe you offer, I don't know, email marketing services, which you go out and you promote that to the media, and they somehow find that there's a story that they can, that they can present to their audience about your email marketing product. But then on the other hand, there's another message that you want to, or a different angle, which would be you want to share your green commitment and let people know that, okay, yes, we are offering this marketing newsletter service, but we also go in and we support nonprofits, or we have teamed with Red Cross or Water for More, or whoever the nonprofit is, just to show that you are supporting a local community in whatever the effort is. Or maybe you guys are getting ready to downsize, or you just, I don't know, got bought out by a big company. You want to communicate that information to your consumer just to let them know what's happening within your organization. So that in itself, that's another angle of publicity. You can open up the channels of communication to where people are not just making assumptions of your brand. You're actually giving the news directly to the media, who is in turn putting this information out to the general public or to the consumer. Okay, so you have those two components. And then the third would be obviously to increase the bottom line, which is the revenue, to increase product sales, to increase ticket sales, and to increase your audience base. Social media is a good example of that, because now you have opportunities to where you're getting influencers who are promoting different products and services. So obviously their bottom line would for reaching out to the media would be like, to reach out to them and say, hey, I don't know, I blog on, travel, maybe they talk about airfare, they talk about the good, cheapest flights, good vacation spots, places to go and have a nice dinner over in Taiwan or whatever. And then they are basically wanting to promote that to a certain demographic of people, so they can reach out to those media outlets that cater to the demographic that they're trying to reach, and say, hey, such and such is doing this, and they get the media placement for it. And then in turn, what that does for the social media influencers is that the people that are actually reading that information, or the ones that are actually following that blog or that website, or they, get looking at the article in the newspaper about the social media influencer, those people will go, depending on if it's something that they're interested in, they'll go and support and find out more information, which of course could potentially increase the bottom line and the ticket sales or whatever it is that they're promoting. And then at the end of the day, if an additional person that didn't know about you knows about you, then of course that's always a good thing if you're building a fan base. So that is pretty much the bulk of why it is important for your brand or product. It's obviously several additional reasons, but the top three, from what I've come to experience, is, it's going to help you to build your brand presence. It opens up the channel of communication. And then, of course, to increase your bottom line, the revenue. So let us go ahead and let's take a look at section 3, which is another important one. How can I use publicity to leverage or to build my brand? Okay, so you know what publicity is. I've kind of given you an overview of that. And we've also discussed why it is important. You know, why should I even be bothered with it? So now let's talk about how you can actually use it. And, you know, there's there's other ways that you could do it. But like I said, I'm just kind of cutting this down to the most important reasons so that you can decide on if it's something that your company or your business may need. And even if you don't need it right now, at least you'll know in the future what it can do. So one of the top ways that you can use it to leverage or build your brand would be to gain larger opportunities, of course. So say, for instance, you, I don't know, maybe you are looking to build your speaking engagements, and you have one speaking engagement, and maybe you invite the local media to come out. They come out and they do an interview or a feature, or they cover you in their newspaper, or a blogger comes out and records the event or just interviews you about what you're speaking on. Basically, what you can do in that instance is that you can use that publicity coverage, even if it's just one, and you can take that and put that in your media kit or your EPK or whatever it is, and you can have that to present to other people that you're interested in speaking for, other different community places, or I was going to say TED Talks, but I don't want to get into that. But yeah, so basically what you could do is you take that placement, you use it to build your portfolio, and then you present it to the organization that you are pitching yourself to, and say, you know, hey, I did even if it's just one, I did a speaking engagement at the, I don't know, Houston Opera House or something about music, and here's what they said about it. And that one placement could be an opportunity for you to really sell yourself, because what you're doing is you're presenting that to the person that you're pitching yourself to, and they're saying, oh, okay, well, yeah, she just got a nice write-up, you know, in regards to her talk on, you know, becoming an opera singer or whatever the case may be. So that's one way. You use what you have to really put yourself in a position to gain larger opportunities. So in a way, you start small. I know there's with me, like I work with a lot of independent artists and authors and people that are just kind of starting out. So they may not even have, like if you were to Google, they may not even have any presence or relevance online when it comes to other media placements or interviews or just features or anything. But if you can start with one placement, that's pretty much all you need. You start with one and then you build up to larger opportunities. So, you know, every now and then I'll have people say, oh, okay, well, you know, this is a small blog. They just wrote about me, and, you know, it's really not the one that I wanted. And I really wanted to be in Houston Press, or for the musicians, a popular one that we get is, oh, I really wanted to be on Billboard or Fader. And you have to be realistic. And I'm always one to support and really push people and let them know that, hey, anything is possible. But at the end of the day, you have to be realistic and you have to start somewhere. So even if SallyQ.com wrote about you and Sally Q only has 2,000 followers versus the Fader or Houston Press, who has, you know, followers in the hundreds of thousands or if not millions, at least SallyQ.com wrote about you, because that's something that you can use to build up to bigger placements. But you don't necessarily have to take what you can get. But what I'm saying is you can take what you have and put yourself in a position to build larger opportunities. So that's pretty much how it works. I mean, there's other ways that people do it, but to be most effective, you want to take each opportunity and use it to your advantage. So that's one. The second way that you can use it to leverage your brand or to build it would be to use that attention to promote other products. So if you got a placement wherever, then and within that placement, you take that and then you can take it and you can reach back out to the publication and say, you know, hey, I also have, you know, this that I would like to pitch to you guys, my service, or maybe I could come on the show and talk about what I'm doing this summer. You know, as long as it's relevant to what they're, as long as it's relevant to what they're submitting to their audience, basically. So the media's audience, obviously you wouldn't pitch a swimming product. Maybe you have like some sort of pool toys, like swimming pool toys. You wouldn't pitch that to a music publication. And then you would pitch that to those publications that fall within the realm of your product or your service. And even with dealing with public magazines or dealing with newspapers, there's specific editors and writers and journalists that write about those type of topics. So you would not pitch your swimming pool product to a music editor. You would pitch it to like maybe general interest, or you could at least ask the editor, hey, who could I present my project to, or my product to rather. And then they, most of the times they'll let you know. So, and then what you could do with that is say, hey, I just got coverage in such and such, and now I want to take that or you take that and you say you present your product to whatever your wish list of media outlets would be. So you use that attention to promote other products. Or another aspect of that would be maybe you got coverage. I'm saying Houston Press because I'm based in the Houston area. So maybe you got coverage in the Houston Press, and now you want to release a new line of products or services. One way you could do it is you just use your social media and, use that to say something like, hey, we just were featured in Houston Press, and now we're happy to unveil our new line of services with X, Y, and Z. So that actually kind of gets people's attention because they say, oh, okay, well, they just got featured. Let me at least try to see what this is, as long as it's something that those individuals are interested in. Because obviously, if it's for them, then they're going to look to find out what it is. If it's not, then, no love lost. So that's the second one. The third would be to connect to different audiences. So if you have I like to call them human interest elements sometimes when it comes to different products, because you might have a music product, but maybe you're talking about healing the world. So, maybe it's pop music, but the whole theme is like healing the world, or, anti-war, or just whatever you have. Think about all of the topics that you could pull out of it. So you have the music. Okay, first is music. Then you have its pop music. So that's two. And then the third would be, okay, it's a positive song based off on trying to bring people together. So that's three. You have all of those three you have those three topics, which means that you potentially have three different audience bases. You have general music, which is, it gets a little bit more fine-tuned than that, but just to give you an idea for the sake of the webinar, you could submit it to music publications. You could even bring it down a little bit further and submit it to pop publications, because maybe your music is music and then it's pop. And then the third aspect would be, then you have the human interest element, because it is a positive message, and it's based on trying to bring people together. So you could pitch it to like the mainstream music publications within your city. You could pitch it to national pop music publications that kind of fall within the demographic. Maybe you're an indie artist, so you could pitch it to like indie music blogs, pop blogs. And then maybe on the human interest elements that you're trying to bring people together, you could pitch that story to Houston Press or your local news channel and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And obviously it depends on your audience, your following, some of the things that you've done in the past, but just to kind of give you an idea of how to bring those three different angles together to connect to three different audiences. So now you're going to the music, you're going to the pop music, and you're also going to the general media with the fact that it is a human interest element story. So you're bringing those together. And, obviously there's more to it than that, but just to kind of give you an idea of how you can take what you have, your product, and you could break it down and say, okay, hey, this is not just a music product. I can also go after Henry Haynes over here at, X, Y, and Z publication, because he writes about, positivity and inspiration, and he's looking for stories like that. So those are things to think about. You don't have to just say, oh, okay, I'm a musician, let me just reach out to the hip hop outlets. No, if you have other things that fall within that, like if you can bring out other stories, maybe you you were a college student struggling, and now you want to kind of give back and let people know it's possible for them, then you reach out to the college publications, those newspapers, the campuses. Don't discount the little guys, because like I said earlier, a lot of those opportunities can really combine to create large opportunities for you. So that's the gist of that. And, anybody that's interested in learning more, I can definitely get a little bit deeper into that discussion. But for the time being, we're going to get into section 4, which is learning the actual process. A lot of people are intimidated when you think about publicity because they feel like it's built on connections, which for, I guess, a large part, sometimes it really depends. But also, too, there's been, average people to present their stories to media and actually have videos go viral and stuff like that. So don't feel like it is overwhelming or it is too big of a feat for you to go in and tackle on your own. You can do it as long as you can dedicate the time and you are willing to work through the process and really understand how you can position yourself, to gain the publicity that you seek. So without further ado, let us get into learning the publicity process. Okay. So one of the main reasons that people hire a PR agency or a publicist is because they are not familiar with the publicity process. And a lot of the material, obviously you can Google and figure out how to run a campaign and this and that. There's a lot of different resources out there on how to do this, but people hire these agencies because they rely on the relationships for one. And then also the actual work, because it takes so much time sometimes to really put together a strategic campaign. So if you don't know how to do it, then you're just like, okay, well, let me just go hire an agency. They'll take care of it. They'll handle it. But what a lot of people don't understand is that publicity, PR agencies are not able to guarantee placement. That's one thing. That's a big misconception, is like, okay, let me go hire a major agency, and then all of a sudden I'm going to be on Billboard or Rolling Stone or Fader. I'm going to be on the cover of Houston Press. No, it does not work like that. You're hiring a PR agency to do the work. You're hiring them to tap into their resources. You're hiring them to take the time to email these people, to follow up with these people, to make the phone calls, to put together your press release, to take care of your copywriting and all of those things. But it does not mean that because you have paid $2,000 or $3,000 or $1,000 or whatever the agencies are charging, that you're going to end up on your wish list of media outlets. What you're paying for is the actual service. You're paying for them to do the work. But earned media is not something that is, you should not be guaranteed placement, basically like that, in specific publications. They're going to guarantee you the attempt to pitch a story. They can, present it to whoever's on your wish list. It doesn't matter, as long as your brand and your material is up to par and presentable enough for them to present. But they cannot guarantee you that it's going to be placed somewhere. And if they do, at that point, it's advertising. And you could do it on your own, because you could just call up the Fader or whoever the publication is and just take out an ad. And at that point, it's not really marketing anymore. It's more of an advertising angle. So that's the main reason why people hire agencies, is because they want the agencies to use their best judgment, obviously, in the connections to get them in some of these publications and to get them the exposure that they want to get. Second, why should I learn the process? Well, obviously, if it is something that you have the time to do, if you're interested in kind of cutting out the middle guy and really creating an in-house campaign that you can kind of rinse and repeat and use not only with one service or product, but this is something that you could use over the lifetime of your business, the different products that you do, the different events, and really work to build your connections within the media industry. That way you don't have to worry about hiring anybody. You pretty much know the process. And then, after you go in and craft it and figure out how it works, you could do it many times over. And then 3, how can I learn the process? How can you learn it? Obviously you have a lot of resources at your disposal. What I really hope to have put together with the services that I'm offering through Style of Business is just a how to do it yourself program with a little bit of consulting and direct coaching from me, of course, to really show you how to go about putting this together. So in essence, what we would be doing is working together and working to develop stuff that works for your project. One of the things that I will say, though, is like a lot of times before you are ready for publicity, you need to make sure that your product is top A, because you at some point you have to just kind of go across the board with all of your branding aspects, your logo, your executive bio, your company copy, your website, your profile pictures, anything that what I try to tell people is like, would you be comfortable with presenting this to the Today Show? So if you come to me and say, okay, hey, yeah, I want to be on a Today Show, such and such. Okay, you really need to take a look at what you're presenting to me or to the PR agency or whoever it is that you are working with, and really think about if they flash this information up on the screen to millions of people that watch the Today Show every morning, would you be comfortable enough with them sharing this material? Are you happy with your logo? Are you happy with what you're presenting? Because if you're not, then you really need to work on the branding, and you're not really ready for publicity and the PR process. You really need to work on that first, put together your package, take the time to make sure that it's presentable, and then have confidence in it that you can present it to the world. Because if you're not confident in it, then you can't really rely on a PR agency or even expect them to be able to present it. That goes for like a lot of times with musicians. They'll present stuff that's not mastered properly, or the logos will look like they'll be made from, something out of clip art from 1993, when the internet first really kicked off. You have to make sure that your package is PR ready. And I touch a little bit on that too with a couple of the services that I offer. But basically, once that's done, like once you have your branding down, you have all of your everything is consistent throughout, then you're ready to go with the publicity process. And so that's one of the biggest things that I warn people about. It's like, okay, don't go invest in a PR agency or go and invest in anything huge until you have everything ready. Don't work it halfway and then say, okay, I need to go get a PR agency, or I'm ready to pitch myself to the media. Make sure that you have all your ducks in a row, make sure that everything is top A, and then you move forward with the publicity process. And by that time, you're able to create a strategy and really make things work for you.